This structure is the foundation of the marriage. It's the bedrock. It's the thing that's there even if nothing else is working. I hate your guts. You think I'm a moron, right? Like if that's where we are personally, relationally, the foundation of the marriage is still, no matter how much you think I'm a moron, you still respect me and you still submit to my leadership whenever I say we need to go here or we need to go there. You defer to me and we go here and we go there. And likewise, no matter how awful you're being, no matter how lazy you're being, no matter whatever, right? Whatever the issue is that I have with you as a wife, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, I do not cut you off from the provisional things that you need. And it goes beyond that. It's to the very best of my ability. I provide for you in a way that elevates you to the highest level that my provision will allow for. That's what that means. So no matter how crap you're being to me, every single dollar, every single thing that comes into my possession goes straight to you for your benefit. And what this does is create a safe operating environment for the relationship to be able to mature to the place where both people are able to move in agreement instead of in hierarchy. And it also protects the environment that the children are supposed to be being brought up in. It protects that environment until the children are old enough to be able to stand on their own. Now, I did a much more comprehensive breakdown on this in another video. The only reason I wanted to make this is I just wanted to speak to the issue of why I felt like it was so important to address the hierarchy if ultimately I'm in agreement, I think for the most part with the egalitarians, about how the relationship is supposed to function once it reaches maturity. And that's really all this comes down to. Like probably the biggest distinction between me and most egalitarians would probably just be the fact that I believe there is a hierarchical structure that exists regardless of how you're functioning, but that hierarchical structure is there for the protection of not only the children, but also the couple until they reach the place where they have the maturity to operate in this kind of like idealistic, egalitarian version that people are all, aspiring to. Because the thing of it, I've been married for almost 20 years. Reality is harsh. Reality is unkind. This like idealistic egalitarian view of what a marriage looks like only works when your circumstances are perfect. When things are not perfect, when everything is going sideways and someone has to make a call, and that call maybe isn't popular with everyone else in the house, there's not time for everybody to get into agreement. Sometimes you just have to make a decision and go for the best of everyone in the family. And you don't always get the luxury of being able to kind of, wait for the other person to get on board or to be able to defer to what the other person wants. You just don't always get that luxury. Life doesn't work that way. And so we have to understand that there is a hierarchy there to protect the family, for lack of a better word, until the time comes that the couple is at a level of maturity where they're able to navigate even complex situations in agreement without having to defer back to the hierarchy. Which, again, I've been married for almost 20 years. That's where my wife and I are today. I haven't had to pull my husband card in, God, I honestly can't even remember the last time. And even right now, in this moment, we're going through, again, probably one of the most difficult circumstances that we have faced in the 20 years that we've been married, but we don't fight. Like, there's no fighting. I don't have to pull the husband card. None of that has to happen. And it's because we have 20 years of going through the process of maturing both individually and collectively as a couple to the point where now, even under this extreme pressure, we don't have to default back to the hierarchy. We're still able to operate in agreement. And that's the ideal, but the ideal is not something that you just get to start with. Now, everybody's relationship's going to look different, and the time it takes you to get from having to functionally work within the hierarchy to the point where you're able to entirely work in agreement. For some couples, that's going to be a year, right? Because they came into it with healthy families, healthy relationships, healthy backgrounds, right? Circumstantially, things are where they are, right? And so they maybe they don't even ever have to use the hierarchy, right? Because they are just so blessed to have a life where there's no point where one person is saying we need to go right and the other person is saying we need to go left, and they're not under a time constraint that requires that push, and so they're able to wait for each other to get to the point where they're aligned, right? Maybe there's somebody out there that gets that experience, and man, more power to them if that ever happens. But the vast majority of people, that is not going to be your situation. The vast majority of you are going to get married. You're going to be two broken, messed up people with baggage coming into a relationship. And it is going to be a messy process to get to the place where you're able to operate in sync, to operate in agreement without having to have a hierarchy there to protect the order of the family until the time comes that relationally you guys are able to function apart from the hierarchy. Okay, and again, I'm speaking highly conceptually here. This video was not to go through and prove out all of this stuff in scripture. I already have other videos where I've done that. So if you care to watch any of those videos, feel free to go watch those, right? My goal here was just to kind of speak on why is it that if functionally I'm in agreement with most of the ideas that I see in kind of the egalitarian view, why is it that I'm not structurally in alignment with them? And that's the reason why, because there has to be order, a baseline of order, because you can't turn left and right at the same time. And anytime that there is more than one will involved in a situation, at some point, you are going to reach a moment in life where one person thinks we should go left, the other person thinks we should go right, and someone's going to have to be able to make that decision. And it's not always going to be the perfect agreement where it's like, oh, you know what? I love you. You do what you want. No, I love you. Let's do what you want. No, I love you. Let's do what you want. All right, that's just not reality. That's not the world that we live in, or the world that we're going to face. As much as we'd like to pretend like it is and believe that it is, it's just not. And without the structure that God has put in place where the man is given the authority to make that call, if you don't have that structure, what you end up with is decisions getting made by force or leverage. Whoever has the greater physical force gets to assert their authority in the situation, or whoever has the greater leverage in the moment is able to use their leverage to be able to manipulate the outcome of the situation. And both of those are incredibly destructive, antagonistic ways of getting things done. And I get it. People want to be like, oh, you could use consensus. You know, it doesn't have to be force or leverage. Guys, stop it. I'm sorry. Just stop it. Humans are not so perfect and altruistic. They just aren't. We all want to act like we are. We're not. Human beings are flawed and broken, and sometimes hard decisions have to be made. And when that happens, if you don't have a God-given order of authority that you can fall back to and say, we both agree with you, God, that whatever you say is how it is. If you don't have that to fall back to, then you will default to your baser natures, which is force and leverage. Anyway, I could talk about this topic for days because the family is such a crucial vehicle for how the Lord gets things done in the earth. And so it is of such tremendous importance. Like, Satan attacks the family because he knows that if he can mess up mom and dad, he can mess up generations of children. He can mess up whole entire generations of the world just by attacking the family unit. And so this whole concept of how family order works is extraordinarily important. But it is also extraordinarily important that we view it through the right lens, and we understand that it's not hierarchy just for no purpose. It's not a permanent hierarchy that everyone has to live within, where the wife is submitted to the great husband, right? Like, it's not like that. It is a temporary structure. It is literally the foundation that the relationship and everything else is built on. You live on top of the foundation, not in the foundation. Nobody lives on a slab. You lay a foundation so you can build a house on top of it to live in. That's what a marriage is. The hierarchy is the foundation. But once the foundation is laid, Nobody's like walking around like, oh, we got to refer back to the foundation again. No, you live in the house, and that's what it's supposed to be. And so we need to stop making it so much more than it is. We need to stop making it about like relational dominance and just all this other garbage that people have made it into. It's not about any of that. And yeah, I get it. There's people that abuse these structures, but you know what else they abuse? They abuse the structures that exist in their absence too. Because if you don't have this structure, then you fall back to force or you fall back to leverage. And both of those are ugly and gross and manipulated by both parties. Because make no mistake, whatever marriage you're in, whatever relationship you're in, there is going to be a power structure. It will exist. And if it's not a power structure that is one that's ordained by God that both people are submitting to, it will be a power structure that lends to whoever has the most leverage or the most ability to force the other person to comply. And that's just what it is. So if anybody else has questions about this, please drop them in the comments, right? My goal here is, again, I just want to equip you guys with the right view of A, how it works, but also why it exists. And I think ultimately that's my heart in all this. I just want people to understand why God set things up the way that he did. And like I said, this video was more focused on just kind of like tackling like one very nuanced aspect of my view. I have my view is much broader. It is much more scripturally oriented. I've done lots and lots of videos breaking all this stuff down with scripture. That was not the focus of this video. The focus of this video was more just kind of address that one very narrow piece of this. So I hope y'all find this helpful. And like I said, if y'all have questions, drop them in the comments and I'm happy to make another video. Shh.